Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, Bashem Rakag Radash, and double honors to the apostles of the great millstone that have taught me what I know, and including the bishops on down as well. Yahweh Bashmiel Shai Brakatham to the 144,000 and the 1/3 as well, whom is the elect, because it's all about the elect. And it's your brother Laban once again, and I just want to go over this over here. Straight right into it. The EU on brink as Franco-German relationship collapses. They hate each other. The EU is reportedly on the brink due to a breakdown in the Franco-German relations, with the two country leaders allegedly hating each other. The relationship between France and Germany has long been the driving force in a European project. However, a supposed breakdown between their respective leaders, Emmanuel Macron and Olaf Scholz, has created issues. According to the French economist Jacques Regnies, that started with the Russian invasion of Ukraine in Feb of the year 2022, he claimed the war was a shock to the system, to the German economic model. Regnies said when the Germans get angsty, their reaction is to immediately focus on their own interests first. The economist added that Scholz's coalition took power just a few months prior to the Russian invasion, which makes the timing even worse. Janet, I can't pronounce that. A researcher at the French Institute of International Relations told Le Parisien newspaper that Macron and Scholz have frequently butted heads due to their contrasted views and styles. So that's Scholz, and we know that this is Emmanuel Macron, the French Prime Minister, or as you should know. Okay, so what I have for this over here is some scriptures, because there's a lot going on between NATO just in general. I mean, Trump is not even in office yet, and he's doing pretty well in regards to the votes. And a lot of people want Joe Biden out of there because he's not doing right by the people, which none of them did anyway. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference who's in a position of power in America, because they're all going to do wrong. They're all nothing more than puppets for the powers that be, especially the Rockefellers that control America. They run all of the oil refinery businesses and a great large portion of the land of America. Okay, and as well as you have BlackRock and the likes. Like, these are the people that are indeed leading over many governments, especially Western governments, and that's who they dance for. All right, so it doesn't really matter if Trump gets in there or a Democratic president, for that matter. It really makes no difference. What's going to make a difference, or let me say it correctly, what is making a difference on the planet Earth is the words of the Most High, and in this case, prophecy. Now, why would this even be the case? I mean, if we had a Western hegemony that was doing very well in terms of dominating the world, why is this attitude even in the midst? I know that nations that are close ties with certain nations, there's going to be issues here and there, but it shouldn't get to the point where the relationship collapses. I mean, come on. They need to stay together because their life depends on it. The power depends on it. All right. And, we've heard words from even Donald Trump saying that he wouldn't care what would happen to the rest of the NATO allies because they need to pay up. So there's this spirit of the vision going on amongst, these Edomites just in general. Okay, so that means that there's a breaking of the hegemony that was, which we know that the word hegemony here And we know what it means. The ones of us that know what it means, but we're going to read it. This is a preponderant influence or authority over others. Domination, battled for hegemony in Asia. The social, cultural, ideological, or economic influence exerted by a dominant group. Right. And by this dominant group, which is the West, they have pretty much posed their ways and their standards of the world. You know, their form of democracy. And I mean, how were they able to do this? Because they were together as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. But now that we see here and there, there's a you know, how can I put this? There's a destabilization going on. Back in the year 2016, we just had a referendum that Great Britain, they would be out of the EU. So I mean, you know, ever since that point, we've been out. And I mean, you know, there's been talks about Britain getting back in there, but you know, well, that remains to be seen. And just like I said, why would all of that be happening and this happening and what Donald Trump said about how he would care about what would happen to NATO? Like, what's the reason why he would say this if what they had, their relationship was going, was something good, because it allowed them to influence the world, having great power. Because ultimately, this is not by the will of man. See, Esau didn't get his power by the will of man. No nation got their power by their own will. It was by the will of the Heavenly Father. So by the will of the Heavenly Father, they shall go down. Okay? Because the Lord, he is the ultimate puppeteer. Now you have puppeteers that are put in positions, but even the Lord has control of them. Okay? And I want to read this as well. This is the book of Job 33. And we will read verse 13. In a dream and a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, in the slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction. So while one is sleeping upon the slumberings upon the bed, the Most High opens the mind. In other words, he opens your spiritual eye, the pineal gland, and he will install what you're going to do during the day or even the days to come. And as this reads, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. And he keepeth back his soul from the pit and his life from the perishing by the sword, which is a righteous soul in this case. So the Lord is able to withdraw the purpose of man, because we all have ideas of things that we say that we're going to do, and we don't usually do it because it wasn't willed by the Father for us to do these things. Okay. And and also more so with greater men like the kings. The Lord pondereth the hearts of the kings, whether so he will. All right. He turneth the heart of the king, whether so he wills. I'm roughly paraphrasing as the scripture says, as well as the rivers go. All right. Man's goings are of the Lord, and how can a man then understand his own way? So there you have it. Man's goings are of the Lord. And these are the scriptures that need to be brought out more frequently as we do nowadays, because it's the absolute truth. Whether it's righteous souls that are being controlled or whether it's wicked souls that are being controlled, everybody is under the influence of the Lord. Okay, and this is why all of this is going on. That shouldn't be going on. I'm talking about the hate that's going on between the EU, and as well as the hate that is going on between America and the EU as well. These things shouldn't be happening according to the will of man, because according to them, they want to continue to rule forever and to be more affluent in their power. All right. But again, this is not happening, because again, the will of the Lord was for these people to come and to rule for a while, according to the book of Daniel and many other prophecies. And so it is the will of the Lord that the Lord breaks them apart now. Let's even read this. Ecclesiastes 3 and verse 3. A time to kill a time to heal and a time to break down and a time to build up. So it's a time of breaking down of this old system so that the kingdom of Yahshua Allah, which is the Israelites, which we are, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, to rule the planet Earth. The next in line to rule the planet Earth. And when we rule the planet Earth, it's going to be ruled in righteousness. What righteousness are we talking about? We're talking about the righteousness that are in the Holy Scriptures. The book of the law. We talk about the law is written in the book of Deuteronomy. The law is written in the book of Leviticus. All of these things will be practiced on the planet Earth. Now, these Christians have been teaching people for a while that if one dies and does good, then there's a heaven there's a heaven in the sky somewhere that the good will go, and there's a hell below beneath the planet Earth that the wicked will go. And I mean, that's not existing on the earth. That is not truth. It's fictitious. Okay, it's a mythological, fictitious ideology. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. What will be the case is that the kingdom of heaven will be established here on earth. All right, and the saints will rule the earth, because the earth is basically the inheritance of the nation of Israel. And with that, we're going to know exactly how to operate. Sirach chapter 10. In verse 1, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. Now, what I want to also read to that as well is this. In the book of Isaiah 1:26. But you know what I'm going to do? What I'm going to do is I'm going to read this. I'm going to read the whole thing to verse 4. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of the man of the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. An unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hands of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable, and that is us. We're going to be the ones profitable next to rule the earth. And being that I've read about the judges, how the judges of the people is himself, right? Etc., etc. Guess what? The Most High is going to restore the judges as in the days of old. Isaiah 1:26, and I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as the beginning afterward, and thou shalt be called the city of righteousness and the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed. Zion is another way of saying Israel, shall be redeemed with judgment. So this proves that the other nations cannot be saved. Okay, because the word redeemed means to buy back. So how can you be redeemed when you was never bought in the first place? Read on. And her converts with righteousness, and the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together, and they that forsake the Lord shall be consumed. So there you go. So Zion, which represents the elect, will be redeemed with judgment. So they're going to take hold the judgments and proceed with the judgments upon the earth. This is what's getting ready to happen next. All right. The elect, and as well as Yahweh Shai, they are the kingdom that will be established, which is right upon us. As a matter of fact, the brothers that are teaching the words of the Lord, that are prophesying, is the kingdom. We are the kingdom of heaven, and we're next. And all it really takes is for the Messiah, the head cornerstone, to make his second return. All right? And then you're going to have King David, and as well as the various ranks of men, the 12 disciples, 144,000, and as well as the rest of the righteous. We represent the kingdom. Okay? So while all of this is going on, while you have the EU breaking apart, and you're hearing the words of Donald J. Trump speaking ill against their allies, so to speak, while that's going on, what are you seeing? You're seeing the recooperation of the men of the Lord. Okay? And what you're also seeing is the gathering of the tribes that was once assembled, that had their own differences, but now their own differences has now been dissolved, and we are brought back together as one. Ezekiel 37. All right? And then King David is going to be raised back up. So all of this is basically building up as I speak. And the dissembling of Esau and their counsel is being destroyed as I speak as well. All of this is happening simultaneously. We're reaching to the end of Esau's world and the beginning of that which comes thereafter, which is Jacob. Okay? As it is written, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Let's read some more scriptures. Concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? His counsel is perished from the prudent. Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan. For I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him in the time that I will visit him. So there's going to come a time where the Lord is going to visit this man, but first he has to be exposed. And first he has to show that he ain't making no damn sense. And that's being well shown and displayed right now. All right. We can clearly see that on a grand scale. So this devil is on the verge of basically seeing his great demise, and as well as his civilization as a whole. And the Lord will definitely pay him a visit. Oh yes. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaming grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have not enough. Exactly, because these are a people that are not satisfied. They are as deaf, as Habakkuk puts it, and cannot be satisfied. So much so that, which really explains that their soul is not upright in them. And this is why they're so forward. They're so forthcoming forward towards their new world order system, because they want way more power than what they have, and they'll be willing to go through the depths of hell to get that power. But while they're going through the depths of hell, it's going to come a time, there ain't going to be no man. They're going to find themselves in hell, never to come back out of hell. All right. And they will destroy until they have enough. But I have made Esau bare, and I have uncovered his secret places. Right. Because we all know about the Bilderberg meetings. We know about the Sonoma County, Georgia meetings. The cremation of care that they get into, that which is what they worship, this 40-foot owl. I forgot what it's called, man. It's equivalent to that of Molech, where they sacrifice beans to that owl. And that supposedly is supposed to give them some kind of blessings or something to that equivalent. The Bohemian Grove, there you go. And there's many other things that we know about, but it just hasn't come to my mind yet. So this devil has been made bare and exposed. So it reads, And I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. And his seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in thee. Widows trust in thee. For thus said the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have surely drunken. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. Exactly. That cup is the cup which represents the curses. And you see, it was read that we weren't supposed to drink of that cup. So if we weren't supposed to drink of that cup because we're the Most High's chosen, then how is it that the so-called white man is just going to get off scot-free? How are these Amalekite bastards are going to get off scot-free? These small hatters, these 1948ers, these big wig wearers, whatever you want to call them. How are they going to get out of the way of the judgment of the Lord? It's impossible. Okay, as it is written in the book of Deuteronomy 30 and verse 7, this reads right here. And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Exactly. So all of those curses, which is what the cup represents, is going to be given unto the hands upon those that have afflicted us. And with that, those hands, they're going to drink up that cup, even with the dregs at the bottom of it. All right. From top to bottom, they're going to have to drink up all of those curses. So now let's read another precept. Psalm 75 and verse 8. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poureth out the same, but the dregs thereof, and all of the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink it. And you see, they're going to drink all of the curses, including the dregs thereof, that so much so that they're going to become the new dregs on the planet Earth. And guess what? When they become dregs, they're going to stay dregs until they be wiped off the face of the earth, according to the book of Obadiah 1 and 18. So there's not going to be any return of the excellency of the nation of Edom anymore. Not a fourth time coming. So now let's get the book of Lamentations, the 4th chapter. As this reads, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. And the cup also shall pass through unto thee. Here goes that cup again. And thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. And the punishments of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion, and he will no more carry thee away into captivity. As it is written, that affliction will not rise up a second time. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom, and he will discover thy sins. And all of this will take place in the kingdom. So in the kingdom, Esau is going to be in our hell. All you have to do is read the parable of the poor man and the rich man in the book of, if I'm correct, John 16 somewhere. And that parable would explain the condition that the rich man is going to face, which the so-called white man right now, he represents that rich man that fed sumptuously every day, and how he's going to be in torments, great torments. Okay, this is the future. And many of the prophets of our nation have seen the vision of our enemies suffering great torments in the kingdom of heaven. So this is what all of this is building up to. All of the issues concerning this world, it's all going to culminate into the ending of this one and the beginning of another one, which is going to follow, Jacob's world. And in Jacob's world, the so-called white man will be in hell, like we're on the dead hell right now as it stands. As the saying goes, the white man's heaven is the black man's hell. Well, it's going to be vice versa. So now, let's go and read the book of Daniel 2 and verse 43, which is primarily the point on this right here. Why there is dissension, why there is a collapsing of the two European nations. Okay, let's get that in the book of Daniel 43, primarily. So now, what I'm going to do is here, let's begin by reading verse 40. Let's begin there. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, and for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and stuff doeth all things, and as iron that breaketh all of these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So this is referring to the second leg of the Roman Empire. And the second leg of the Roman Empire begun around the Renaissance period, during the time of Cesare Borgia and Alexander, which was, if I'm correct, the sixth Pope of Rome. And as well as you had Cristobal Colon, which the American world knows him as Christopher Columbus. And these were people that were responsible for the taking down of the Northern Kingdom around the 1500s, the 1500s, if I'm correct, early 1500s. And it was through them that reestablished the Western world. Okay, so they brought the revisitation or the revivalation of this Roman system, which the term Renaissance means the rebirth, which is really what they were rebirthing was the Roman system again. Revelations, if I'm correct, Revelations 13 and 10. How the world wondered at the beast of his deadly wounds that was healed. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, which these are two elements that do not go together. The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of iron, which is representing of the military. And for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, which means you're gonna have the ones that are gonna be weaker, military and economically. As if the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken, right? And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with the clay. You see, so this is why you have a broken hegemony. Daniel 2 and verse 43. Which the 10 toes represents the 10 common original states that came together around 1958. If I'm correct, the EU, the European Union, was formulated in 1958. So that's being broken apart. And then we've also had, since 8 years back, we've had a referendum that the UK would then, end its tenure with the EU. So we have to include that as well. So now what we want to do is we want to go back and read the book of Daniel. And let's read verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Just like I mentioned earlier before, that all of this that's going on, the breaking down of this system, it's all going to lead to the coming of the Messiah. And the reason why the Messiah is going to come, because the Messiah, as well as just like his father is zealous to set up the kingdom of heaven right along with the saints, and this kingdom is going to stand forever. Okay. Verse 45, for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, which is the Roman system, the clay, all of this represents the Roman system. The great power have made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain. So as it is written, don't we have a sure word of prophecy? Absolutely. There's no lie of the truth. So there is no lie when it comes to these visions, which is of the truth, and the interpretation thereof is sure. You see? So this is what's going to be taking place. The Yahushua is going to revisit the planet Earth in a more of an angelic force, as it is written that the Lord will not meet thee as a man. So we know that the Lord Yahushua was in the midst 2,000 years ago in ancient Rome, and he's going to come back and storm down upon the revival version of which was called Rome. That's what this is talking about. And this is something that the so-called white man and all those that are in the positions of power, they're going to have to expect. And they do expect as what they call an alien invasion, because it's about to come. They've known about this for years. They've known about a possibility of an idea that you're going to have angelic forces coming down to intervene into this realm and take over their position of power. They know that this is what's coming. I mean, that's got to be one hell of a scary thing to be aware of. All right. Man, oh man. I wouldn't want to be Esau. So now let's read this. Mark 3 and verse 23. And he called unto them and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan's rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but have an end. Exactly. So we're at the end of these devils, because again, there's a spirit of error. There's a spirit of division. Because when these devils were together, everything was working perfectly fine. They had a hegemony. And through that hegemony, they was able to influence the world by their form of democracy. You see, but that's no longer working. And what I want to report on next is this woman. She exposes that young white males under the age of 18 or 30 are no longer forthcoming academically anymore, or something to that equivalent. But that's what's next that I'm going to be talking about. So, I mean, it's just very cut and dry what's going on. And then we had the Maryland bridge, the Maryland to Baltimore bridge that collapsed. I mean, come on. I mean, all of this is indicatable to an end of this civilization. Something that we're not surprised about, because we've been talking about this for years. And it's finally here. The words of the prophets have surely come to pass, as what would be eventually anyway. Let me read this. Daniel's 4 and verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers. Who are the watchers? We are the watchers. And the demand by the word of the holy ones, which we have the word, to the intent that the living may know, we are the living, because we've been quickened alive, that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the bases of men. And that's also something that I've been bringing about earlier in this lesson. Because it looks like men come out of obscurity and happen to glorify themselves in powerful positions by their own will. But again, this brings me back to the point that it's the Most High that brings men up out of obscurity, out of desolation, that they are exalted to glory when it's their time. And then he brings them back down again. Okay? Every nation, I mean, you want to talk about the Medio Persians, you want to talk about the people of the Egyptians, which is a group of Hamites, which are the people of Martezarium. That's the original name from a biblical standpoint. You want to talk about the Greeks, you want to talk about the ancient Romans, and you want to talk about this system as well. It's all done by the hand of the Lord. It was in the hand of the Lord for these kingdoms to be set up, to be brought down. And guess what is going to be in the hand of the Lord to bring this one down too, to set up the righteous. And when the Lord sets up the righteous, his men, his people are going to begin to rule the planet Earth to give a greater example as to who he is. And they're going to bear his name correctly by keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments with great perfection. And we will be displaying perfection on the earth. Oh, every nation is going to see this. All right, no doubt. So that's all I'm going to say right here. I think anyway, let me see something real quick. I read that already. Yeah, I did read that too. Yeah, so the Lord will set up a kingdom among a nation and then bring them down again. But you see the saints, they're going to rise up. And when the saints rise up, they'll never go down. Let me read one last precept. This is Samuel's 2, I think is what? 1 Samuel's 2, right? Yeah, so this reads, the Lord killeth and maketh alive, he bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up. The Lord maketh poor and maketh rich, and he bringeth down and lifteth up. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes and make them inherit the throne of glory. Exactly. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon them. And who are these he's talking about? He's talking about the children of Israel. You see, we as a people in this Western world, we're stuck in favelas, we're stuck in ghettos, we're in buildings, apartments, that which is called apartments or tenement buildings, which is nothing more than, a building with holes in it, little small holes in it. And your life is just nothing. All right. So we're going to go from that lifestyle to a lifestyle of glory, nostalgic glory, or for whatever glory that will be. That's going to be the last stop for the saints. And the saints ain't getting off that stop. They're going to stay right there. Okay? Because that's where they belong. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For by strength shall no man prevail. Right. The wicked ain't going to prevail by his strength, by his technological power, which the Lord gave him the power that he's given them. And the Lord didn't even give him enough power to defeat himself. Why would he do that? The adversaries of the Lord Yahweh shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. See? And the Lord Yahweh shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king. Who is his king? Yahweh Shai. And exalt the horn of his anointed. Right. There you go. That's all we need to read. That's all we need to read. So this actually goes into what I was talking about. Anyway, on how the Lord is going to take down this kingdom and set up his kingdom. Okay? That's the only thing that makes sense to us. This is the thing that keeps us going every day. This is what we live for. We don't live to see the days of this decrepit, evil, wicked, degenerate world that we're living in. We want another world, man. We want to live in a world that makes sense. We want to live in a world that we can be happy in, that we can experience real life in. All right? And that's going to be in the kingdom. We're talking about a life that we should have experienced. How things used to be, how the Lord created it to be. The perfect way. Let me just put it to you that way. You think this world is perfect? Think again. And if you think this world is perfect, then your brain isn't wide right if you think that this world represents the perfection. This world is totally contrary to what is perfect. We're going to literally live in a perfect world. If the Heavenly Father is a perfect power, you better believe you me. His world is going to reflect him. And even the men that he has chosen are going to reflect his perfection. So therefore, the earth is going to be under a perfect rule. And this is what we are looking for. All right. So with that, I close. I want to sing Shalom.